All right, I think we're live now.
I see a countdown for 1 minute. Okay, there. I see us now.
All right. We're live. We're getting close to kickoff. It's about to start. Hello, anyone and everyone. Let me tweet out that we are live so we can get people in here.
All right, so it's about a 10-15 second delay on the video.
All right. That sucks, but I wonder if I can change that on the... No, it's just as...
That's fine.
It's just as good as my internet connection is letting us go, so... All right.
All right. So, all right. If anybody's out there, send us a message because we want to hear from you.
All right. Tweet it out that we're live. All right. We are officially watching the kickoff of the NFL season. I'm Jordan, and this is Jimmy from the Motown Sports Talk podcast, if anyone wasn't aware already. Football is finally here. We didn't know if we were actually going to have it this year, but we're finally watching it. Let me get rid of all these random tabs I have open. So, Jimmy, what are your initial predictions for the game? Who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be the Super Bowl champs, or is it going to be the Houston Texans who traded away Deshaun Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Well, clearly, Kansas City Chiefs are the big favorites here. Wow, look at Andy Reid's face mask. Got like a entire bubble around his head, like he's gonna fly to the moon or something. Well, coaches are at higher risk for COVID complications.
Yeah, so
With their age and Andy Reid, he's a big dude. Likely has some comorbidities. You know, people that big, they're at high risk for diabetes, which is a major health risk. So I can understand if a guy like him wants to avoid COVID at all costs. That's why
right.
he's wearing an astronaut mask around his head.
You could say he's going to astronomical lengths to protect his face.
Nice one. Yeah, so if anybody's out there listening, I'd love to hear any feedback about just our show, what you think about it. You're just our fellow fans. I don't consider you guys listeners or fans or anything like. You're just our fellow Lions fans. If there's anything you guys like about the show, anything you like that we talk about, let us know so that we can talk about it more. Because right now, sometimes it feels like I'm just talking out to a blank box and really have no idea what people want to hear about and what people do like or don't like about the show.
Yeah, we love feedback. I mean, positive, negative, anything. We love hearing it. We love seeing just the interaction with fans. We love that. So anything we'd love to see.
Preferably intelligent, logical feedback.
Yes.
We appreciate it because I feel like we're an intellectual show. We're
Yes.
not hot takey. We're not yelling and screaming all the time. So we like a good intellectual discussion of any topics.
Yeah. And we're level headed too. We're open to opposing ideas as opposed to just shutting down anyone who thinks negatively or opposing of your opinions.
Definitely. So, Jordan, are you recording this now to be released on a podcast
We can.
later?
Yes, we can do that. We can edit it out and cut up some stuff and turn it into our some type
Okay.
of live stream, some type of video content. It's
There are a
recording
good
auto.
number.
Pardon me.
Sorry, there are a good number of fans in the stands. I'm pretty impressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised that they're having fans there
It's
at
not
all.
bad.
So
Yeah, the Lions don't get to have fans for the first two home games. So,
I wasn't sure if that was a league-wide thing or if they. I mean, obviously it's going team by independently by teams and cities, depending on if they want to have the fans in the stadium or not.
right. Yeah, so they got a fair number of fans. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm surprised, honestly, and it doesn't really look like a lot of them are social distancing, but it's all right.
Yeah, at least they're in the open air.
Yeah,
And
you gotta
the
forget
way
too.
the stadium is designed, the stadium seating, you're like 5 feet away from the row below you. It rises so incredibly fast.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we got the Texans starting off. Let's see what they do. So I guess let's just kind of, just for fun's sake, let's kind of do a little early Super Bowl prediction. I know we don't like doing early season predictions like this, but if you just have to take a crazy guess right now, who do you think you see coming out of the NFC and the AFC this year?
Well, I keep hearing a lot of talk about the Saints for the NFC. Uh, they are strong and they seem like they're all in on
Mm-hmm.
the season. Just the way they've structured their contracts and the way they've bent over for Alvin Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Drew Brees has got his clock ticking at this point. He could
Yeah.
be this could be his last year, second to last year, who knows? So they are clearly all in. And I remember when they traded 2 first-round picks to get Marcus Davenport a couple of years ago. They were all in just 2 years ago. So they're
Yeah.
really all in now.
They just keep getting blown out by the Vikings every single year by some crazy magic that they have up in Minnesota. But either way,
Yeah.
that's going to be a really tough division with the Saints, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Bucks, who have loaded up now.
Yeah, we'll see how this things go. Everything is so up in the air with this COVID season. I've,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people know nearly as much about these teams, so it could be a lot of randomness in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who are gamblers, I'm not a gambler, I don't place bets, but I follow the lines, I follow the trends a lot, and I personally would be betting on underdogs big time the first week or two of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, every year that's true. Anyway, that we don't really know what teams are, how teams are like, or how good they are early
Mm-hmm.
on the season. But this year, that's even more true.
Yeah. And on the Pat McAfee and AJ Hawk show today, I was watching. AJ Hawk made a good point, which I'm assuming coming from a former defensive player, he knows a lot about playing on defense. And he thinks that a lot of the offenses are going to be clicking quickly because it's a little bit easier for a quarterback to come in and have good timing, especially if you have returning players to find that timing and be able to click on offense. But on defense, it's all about communication, it's all about timing, it's all about working together as a full unit to try and stop. So he was thinking that some teams might have a little bit of a problem on defense this earlier in the season at
Uh,
least.
if that's what he said, I'm going to disagree with him there. I think it's totally team dependent. I think there's a lot of communication and detail that needs to go into the offense. So I think it's based on how consistent they were from last year, how much turnover and change they've had from last year. Like the Lions, their offense should come out firing
Yep.
immediately. And that's what we need to hope for. We need to hope that the offense carries the team for the first few games. The defense is the big question mark for the Lions. I think
Hmm.
that could be reversed for some other teams, though.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting. I think it is a possibility again for certain teams, especially if they don't have a lot of returning players, if they have a lot of new players on defense. So maybe for the first few weeks we could see a lot of high-powered offense, a lot of high-scoring games, but you never know. We could see how this one goes, but I have a feeling that this one's going to be a high-scoring game no matter what.
Yeah, the Chiefs are rock solid on offense. They both have very established starting quarterbacks returning,
Hmm.
same system, same head coaches, all that.
Hmm.
Sort of like the Lions.
Yeah. So it looks like my stream is messing up on me here. I might have to find a
Yeah,
different
so
one.
Al Michaels just brought up Laurent Duvernay Tardif, who decided to opt out. He was one of the earliest opt outs, one of the most famous ones,
Hmm.
because he's a medical doctor, graduated from McGill,
Yeah.
Canada. And I talked about this a little bit at one of our earlier podcasts, how I, in some ways, disagreed with his decision based on the reasoning he gave. Of course, he's not going to necessarily give us all the actual reasons
Yeah.
why he's opting out. But I felt like if he is concerned about the health issues of COVID from a societal standpoint, it'd be better for him to be an active player in the NFL. He would
Hmm.
have a much stronger, more visible voice as a spokesman medically.
Hmm. I completely agree. Um,
And also, he's only a medical student graduate. He has an MD, didn't do any residency training, so he can't even work as a doctor yet.
right.
And I just read recently, the past day, that he's doing some online classes at Harvard. So he's not even doing residency in this year off either, which is interesting. Uh, I would think maybe he'd want to get a head start on residency training, do a full year of residency training during this year off and get a jump on things.
Right.
So who knows exactly what his career path is or what his plan is.
Yeah, it's real interesting.
Pass is caught.
Like you just said, he's not even really necessarily doing anything to help COVID patients or doing anything in an actual hospital. So it's very
Right.
interesting as to why. And I'm pretty sure he was the first one. I might be wrong about that. He was, yeah, one of the first 2 to 3, or
Right.
possibly the first player to opt out, I believe.
Yeah. And I heard him say that he's excited to come back next year to go for the three-peat with the Chiefs. Well, a lot of these COVID players, opt-out players, they can't be guaranteed they're going to have a job next year. If I'm a general manager, I'm strongly considering replacing anybody who opted out this year. Now, that may be harsh, that may be mean, but that's also reality of life.
Yeah.
If you're opting out this year, you might opt out next year. So I'm looking for a replacement for you right now.
Hmm.
And if it benefits me to cut you in the off season, I'm leaning towards cutting you, waiving you in the off season.
And football is definitely the biggest sport and component of that next man up every time. So
Yeah, absolutely. And football is a sport where you need to be all in with the risks on your body.
hmm.
So, and we see if this is a couple years ago, this would have been the Calvin Johnson rule with this catch right here.
Hmm.
This would have been a no catch, and it's still a no catch. No, he never had control of that.
Geez, I was just about to say, so we see the Kansas City Chiefs already on the board, but looks like that was ruled.
No,
Nope,
no,
incomplete.
that's not a catch. Even Calvin Johnson days, that's not a catch.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I guess he never really had full possession of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Calvin Johnson, I thought it was interesting that somehow Adrian Peterson is on the Lions right now and Calvin Johnson isn't.
Yeah, I
Who would
know.
have thought that back in 2007 when they were both drafted?
Yeah, I know. I think you and me mentioned this on the previous podcast that when we drafted Calvin, you said that it's better to take a wide receiver because they normally have a longer career in the NFL as
Yep.
opposed to running backs. And now Calvin Johnson's been out for 3, 4 years now, and now we have Adrian Peterson. So
Yeah. How crazy would it be if Adrian Peterson wears a Lions hat with his Hall of Fame induction and Calvin Johnson doesn't?
that would be some interesting turn of the tables,
Yeah. It's
especially.
hard to watch superstars on pre other teams, especially a division rival, come to play for your team. It's just like a mental cognitive dissonance. It's hard to accept a little bit
Yeah, I know. My brother
because I'm
has I was gonna say my brother
what
has a friend who's a good, very big Minnesota Vikings fan, and once we found out that he was coming to the Lions, he was pretty pissed off about it. So
really,
yeah, it was pretty funny.
yeah, yeah. So we can talk more about Adrian Peterson right now if you want, or if you want to save it for the next podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about it. It's a big deal. Everyone, I mean, it's kind of mixed fan base. A lot of people seem to be on board with it, and most people seem to like it. But there's also a lot of people who are opposed to it, as for many, many different reasons. But
Yeah,
like I said, I don't really know how I feel about it. When I first heard about it, I was more confused than I was excited, I guess. I was like, why would he sign with us? And same thing, why would the Lions sign him when we have such a deep running back group? But obviously, I think that puts in question the health. I think the Lions are questioning the health of our current running back group with Kerryon Johnson having previous injuries every year. DeAndre Swift is currently on are currently dealing with an injury, and Bo Scarborough is still currently dealing with an injury as well, isn't he? I believe, yeah.
yes,
So,
yep.
so I think it's just a fact that the Lions don't necessarily believe in the health of the current running back groups, and they also, I don't know if you saw, but they used one of the practice squad protections on Jonathan Williams as well. So again, that just kind of
Yeah, that's a good point.
that further, yeah, kind of pushes my thought on it. So I think it's more or less, again, they just wanted another veteran in there to help the young guys out because it is a lot of younger players that we have with Ty Johnson, Kerryon Johnson, and DeAndre Swift. But I don't know. Again, I'm still kind of mixed on it on how I feel, but he's here no matter what I say. So kind of have to just live with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's a. I think the reason he signed with the Lions is we gave him the best contract. You look at the contract we gave him. We gave him $1.05 million for the year with incentives up to 2.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the NFL minimum salary is for a veteran of his stature, 7 years or longer in the league? It's 1.05 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we gave him the absolute bare minimum salary. Nobody else in the entire league was willing to give him a penny more. So that shows you how teams across the league really value this guy, which is why I don't think this is a big deal either way. I wasn't a big fan of the signing because multiple reasons. Number one is if he's on the opening day roster, his salary is guaranteed for the year. So that $1 million is gone, even if he is not nearly the same player or there's character issues or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him have character issues just a couple of years ago with the Saints, where he was in some public fighting with Sean Payton, and they got rid of him
Mm-hmm.
midway through the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't see that now. The other cons with Peterson were some off the field issues. We're not going to get into the details of that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, his age, 35 years old. Yes, he did have quite a few yards, 800 plus last year, but
Think.
clearly he's on the decline. He's not a shifty runner anymore. He's more of just a pounded ahead type runner.
Yeah.
And running backs can fall off a cliff at any moment. And maybe the Redskins saw him fall off the cliff. That's the concern. Why did the Redskins cut him? Or sorry, not the Redskins, the WFT. Why did they cut him? They know more about him than we do. And I generally am very reserved about taking all other teams' trash.
Yeah.
There's I don't have high expectations when you take all other teams' trash.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And again, even with them, they have Darius Geis, who has a history of injury problems. I don't think he's finished an entire season in his career yet in the NFL. So he, again, the reason the Lions signed him, I assumed, is just for the depth at the running back position. So if anything, you'd think that sorry, not Redskins, Washington football team would keep him for that reason. But
Right.
either
Yeah,
way,
his salary was about 2.7 million, I think, for this year. So I think I can see why they cut him from a salary standpoint. They weren't paying him the minimum. I think if they could get him for the minimum, then they might have kept him.
yeah, yeah,
But the starting running back right now might be J.D. McKissick, who we know pretty well. He's
yeah.
not exactly a starting running back in the NFL.
Yeah, it's again, that's why it's so weird that they would end up cutting him. But like we said, no matter what, he's here and we're gonna have to live with him being on the team. But I think again, I think it's just for veteran leadership for some of the younger guys and just running back depth in total. Um, there was a point I was just about to make and I completely forgot what that was now.
Yeah, so either way, I don't think this is a big deal either way. Uh, if he ends up doing nothing this year, it's only $1 million. Although it's sort of interesting that we got $1 million back from Calvin Johnson from the salary cap, so the salary signing bonus clawback. Maybe we spent that $1 million on Adrian Peterson. So sort of those two are tied together, maybe that way.
Yeah, that's very weird how that worked out. I never thought about that until you just said that.
But even if he does well and he hits some of these incentives, well, then it was worth the signing because he must be doing something well to hit these incentives to get up to 2.3 million.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly,
But
despite all the health of our running backs, it really is going to determine on our offensive line, which is kind of another question mark going into the season. I mean, again, we just signed Taylor Decker, and I think the left side of the line's kind of secure, but we're still kind of unsure on the whole right side. So,
yeah, we just saw that Halapulati Vaitai is out of practice today. He's
yeah,
apparently questionable or doubtful for the game coming up. So that's a surprise. But thank God we have Tyrell Crosby, who did great last year. I think is a very solid backup. So I don't think we're losing a whole lot there.
yeah. And I can't remember, was Kenny Wiggins signed to the practice squad or?
Yeah, he was practice squad.
All
Yeah, I
right.
was a little surprised he didn't make the team since he played so much for us last year.
Yeah. And
But he's getting up there in age, and again, players can fall off a cliff fast.
that's the thing about football. We saw it recently with Damon Harrison. The year we traded for him, he was still a beast, and the year following that, he just dropped off. Was
That's a
not.
perfect example. That's a perfect example. Yeah. Anytime anybody questions whether players can fall off the cliff, you just tell them snacks.
Yep. Went from playing at such an elite level of top five at his position to the next year just being, I don't know about one of the worst, but he
Nothing.
was, yeah, nowhere
Nothing.
near what he was.
And this year he's out of the league, completely out of the league in 1 year.
Yep.
So uh, everybody needs to stop thinking that players are the same from year to year. In that 6 month off season, they can go from a good player or even a great player to should be out of the league. We saw Todd Gurley fall off a cliff fast, almost like in the middle of a season he fell off the cliff.
hmm Yeah, he's another very perfect example where it's crazy. It's going to be interesting to see how he does in Atlanta, where I think he's the number one guy there, but
Yeah, we're playing the Falcons later this year,
yeah, I
right?
believe so.
Let's see. We're playing them on the 25th of October. So I am looking forward to playing Todd Gurley because your knee cartilage doesn't grow back. Sorry. I know he killed us in the past when he was with the Rams, just
hmm
destroyed us, single handedly won a game against us, but he is not nearly the same guy.
No. And again, a lot of the season predictions I keep seeing online, everyone has us losing to both the Saints and the Falcons, but I don't know about that Falcons game. I mean, the Saints might be a tough one, but the Falcons, I think we can pull that out. If again,
Yeah, they weren't good last year. We absolutely can hang with any team. There are maybe only a couple teams where I'd be scared of, and frankly, one of them would be the Chiefs, and we should have beaten them last year.
yeah, exactly.
We
We
had,
we were leading that game, and then we just got screwed over. But
well, according to I think either Football Outsiders or one of those analytics sites, we had the number one worst play of the entire NFL season. You remember what it was?
I can't recall.
On Johnson fumbling at the 1 inch line and then getting a return 100 yards for a touchdown the other way.
Yep, I totally forgot about that.
That was the number one most. That was number one worst play of the entire season across any team in the league.
That's terrible. Totally forgot about that.
That game, we easily could have won that game, and even after that horrible play, we still came right back into the game, and were very, very competitive in that game.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a great game for sure. And I believe we were the only ones, not the only ones, but we were one of the first teams to actually put some pressure on the Chiefs early in the season last year.
Yeah, we flustered Mahomes for sure.
Hmm.
Even though we didn't blitz him, for some reason, early on in the season, this lack of blitzing, dropping guys into coverage, flustered these good quarterbacks like Mahomes and Rodgers. But then later in the season, these mediocre quarterbacks realized that we weren't going to pressure them, and guys like Trubisky lit us up.
Yeah, yeah, it was rough to say the least. But
Yeah. So speaking of Trubisky, I think this will be a good test for us seeing him in the first game because again he ripped us apart last year. He looked like a actual good starting quarterback.
yeah, we were the only team
Because
he actually did anything against.
yeah, it was horrendous, embarrassing, really. So and it was because we didn't pressure him, we didn't make him scared at all.
Hmm.
So I want to see immediately this game one. I want to see a change in defensive philosophy. I want to see Corey Undlin do something, make an impact on this team, get creative, throw some blitzes,
Hmm.
and just make Trubisky think. At least make him think. Even if we give up an occasional 80-yard play, I don't care. Just make him think the rest of the game.
That's a good point you brought up too. And again, I think we've mentioned that on almost every single episode of our podcast. But that's probably the one thing that I'm looking forward to the most is just how Corey Underlin's going to use our defense and if he's going to bring more pressure and how he's just going to use guys and put them in different positions to be successful. So
Yep, I agree. That's the number one thing to look for this year, and we'll see it right away against the Bears because we got to be able to show that we can shut down a quarterback like Trubisky. If we can't, that wow, that does not bode well for the rest of the season.
yeah, and I mean look at who they have on offense. They do not have a very good offense. They have who Allen Robinson,
Right.
David Montgomery, who's decent, but and then after that, who they signed Jimmy Graham, who's an aging tight end at this point,
Yep.
and yeah, it's like they don't have anyone on offense. So
Right. Yeah. Nobody scares us on offense.
so I guess we already kind of started talking about it, but we can kind of break down some more of the matchups kind of for this Sunday. Um, as you mentioned earlier, Big V. I'm not sure how to help. Hapalodi Vaitai, he's currently questionable for the game. I think Kenny Galladay is also missed practice today. He's questionable for the game.
Well,
And
I'm wondering if Kenny Galladay hamstring issue is we're about to sign a big contract, so we're just gonna not have you practice for a couple days just so you don't get hurt right before we sign this big extension. Sometimes that's what happens when guys are out. So I'm hoping that's what's gonna happen. He'll sign a contract. It's getting late now. It's Thursday already. So hopefully he'll sign a contract tonight or tomorrow, and then we'll see him back full speed at practice.
that'd be nice, but hopefully it's not something bigger where he's actually going to have to miss time.
Right. Yeah, so there are definitely some injury issues that cropped up already.
Yeah, w-
Vitae being out with some kind of foot injury, that's definitely concerning.
yeah.
Although, like I said, Tyrell Crosby's pretty good.
We went through most of training camp, luckily without any big injuries, besides Jashawn Cornell. But other than that, we were doing pretty good through the off
Yeah.
season till recently, right before the
Yeah.
first game of the season.
Yeah, speaking of the injuries, that'll be something to watch across the league in the first couple weeks. Is there going to be a rash of ACLs and Achilles tears,
Hmm.
which typically occurs in training camp? About a third to even a half of all tears occur during training camp compared to the regular season. So we there weren't that many across the league, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a surge in this first week or two of the season.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a lot of injuries the first few weeks. But
And David Johnson looking for the end zone, and he gets in there. So the first score of the season.
That's David Johnson. Wow, that was a
yeah,
pretty good run.
yeah,
So
people.
maybe aging running backs can make a difference still.
I mean, David Johnson's not that old, and his last injury was a wrist injury. It wasn't even like a knee or ACL or anything like that. So I'm honestly surprised he was traded from Arizona, actually. He is 28 years old, so not that old, but I mean he's getting up there for running backs.
Yeah, that was a nice run by him. He used to be such a good player. And then he signed that big contract and then basically never heard from him again.
Yeah, I know.
And we know that what's that like with DeAndre Levy.
Don't remind me. I still have his jersey hanging up, so
Really. That guy was so good.
yeah, he was one of my favorite players when he played for us, and he was just he was exciting off the field as well, all his adventures, and it's just some mysterious hip injury or something, and whatever it was, and it's just never played again, never was the same.
Yep. So again, if there's anybody out there listening, feel free to just say hi or a comment or anything. Again, you're just fellow fans watching football.
Yeah, if anyone, feel free to tune in. We're just planning on streaming the first quarter. We're just gonna kind of hang out and again talk a little bit, talk about the game. But yeah, if nothing's really going on, we'll just probably stop it again around the end of the first quarter. So yeah, anyone, feel free if you got any questions, comments, concerns. If you'd like to say hi to my cat Peter, he's here too. Come on, what are you doing? He wants to hang out and watch the game too.
So some other things to watch out for game one. So lines are on the betting line are -3. So Vegas does consider us a favorites. I doubt Vegas is giving the same kind of home advantage on the spread as previous years. Typically in the past, it was considered that they would give a 3-point advantage to the home team. I'm going to guess it's probably down a little bit this year, given that there's going to be no fans at Ford Field. So Lions favored by 3 suggests they are a true favorite, even on a neutral site right now.
Yeah, I
But
wonder
because
if
of the whole COVID issue and the uncertainty and unknown of all these teams, again, I'd probably bet all underdogs and I'd bet road teams too. Those are the two segments of teams that I would bet on.
yeah. Well, DeBlair said in the comments said hi to Peter, so Peter's got a fan out there. But yeah, I wonder if Vegas is kind of putting into that thought. Also with the no fans and stuff like that, I wonder if they're putting that into consideration with certain teams on home field advantage and putting points on the spread and stuff like that.
Yeah. So things I'm going to look for in this game are Julian Okwara. He might be my number one guy to watch early in the season because, again, we need pass rush. And if Corey Unlung and Matt Patricia aren't going to scheme anything, we have all our chips on Julian Okwara to
Hmm.
be a pass rusher because there's nobody else that came along in the offseason that's going to add anything. Yes, the linebackers can blitz, but those are scheme blitzes. Julian Okwara is a speed rusher. He's going to be on there. I'm guessing doing third downs and passing downs, and if we're leading in the fourth quarter. So we just need him to have a one-track mind this year and just get after the quarterback. Don't worry about the run. Don't worry about screen passes. Don't worry about anything. Just get after the quarterback. That's all we care about.
Yep. Seriously, especially after how bad last year was, it's going to be real interesting. And going into the draft, everyone thought that we'd use our. Well, everyone was hoping we'd get Chase Young with the first pick, that he'd fall down to us, but that didn't happen, obviously.
Yeah,
And
we tanked so hard to get Chase Young. We had such a good tank season. We lost 8 straight games. You couldn't have tanked any better than we did. We were leading every game. We found some creative way to lose in the last second, which was perfect. So we still didn't get Chase Young.
yeah, I know it sucks. We tried so hard, but then we ended up taking Jeff Okuda, which was still defense, but then we go with an offensive player, DeAndre Swift, in the second round. So Julian Okwara was our first actual defensive end that we took in the draft, or in pretty much in the offseason too. We didn't really, like you said, bring any big offensive or big defensive ends in the offseason. We brought in Nicholas Williams and um, who's the other guy? But they're defensive tackles. They're not defensive ends or
Yeah,
pass
Danny
rushers.
Shelton.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, they're
Oh,
defensive.
yeah, you're right. No defensive ends, no speed rushers, no edge rushers.
Yeah.
So that's highly concerning for the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be Corey Undelin's going to have to be the defensive MVP this year.
Exactly. Corey Undlin, 2020 defensive MVP. If this is going to be a good season. So other things that we've heard about in practice is that Stafford apparently has been looking great.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to temper everybody's enthusiasm with Stafford looking great. This is practice where he has no fear of getting hit. Stafford's a very good quarterback, but his biggest weakness is his ability to navigate the pocket and deal with pressure.
Mm-hmm.
His feet just are not that quick and are not that elusive. He's gotten way better in the past 3 or 4 years with it as far as stepping up in the pocket. Before that, he would just run backwards and to the side. And he's not fast enough to do that. And he's not good enough at throwing on the rung to do that. He's not like Aaron Rodgers who can throw lasers on the rung. Stafford sort of has to set his feet. So he needs to stay in the pocket, step up in the pocket. He's done a much better job of that in the past 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully he'll continue to do that. But him looking great in practice, of course he's going to look great. He's got a phenomenal arm.
Right.
It's his ability to deal with pressure that's the concern.
And pretty much all of those offensive weapons are returning as well. So the main ones, anyways, is Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, T.J. Hawkinson, Kerryon Johnson. The main pieces are still there in offense, so it's pretty easy for him to just come back and click right on practice. So
Absolutely, yeah. The offense, I'm so excited to watch the offense. They should roll. If they don't roll, we're in trouble because I don't think we can count on the defense at this point.
yeah,
We need to put up points early and often and sustain that in the second half too. Too often with this team, it's almost like we go into a shell after we put up some early points and then let the other team catch up. We need to just put the gas to the floor and try to put up 40, 50 points on people.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Especially when this year we're playing teams like, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're playing the NFC South, who is one of the toughest divisions in football, I think, this year, with the Saints, the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Falcons. They're all going to be putting up points, so we're going to have some type of explosive offense this year.
Yeah, Maybe not the Panthers. I can't even name their starting quarterback right now.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. They're not going to be that bad, but
Huh.
yeah. They're, like I said, that's going to be one of the toughest divisions, I think, personally. The Bucks went from worst in the division to possibly winning the division or second in the division.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to watch Tom Brady with the Bucks. It's a good test scenario to see what he looks like outside the New England system. 'Cause I always thought he was the guy that was the major reason for success, not Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how he does with the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. Growing up, all I can remember throughout my lifetime is Tom Brady always won games. They never, I can't, they haven't had a single digit losing season since like early 2000s. But yeah, like I said, as far as I can remember, it could have been Bill Belichick's offensive schemes, but it just always seemed like no matter who they had, no matter what they did, whether it was just some random guy they just signed 2 weeks ago or whatever, whether Tom Brady made these nobodies into actual star wide receivers. And then you see it all the time. There's star wide receivers or tight ends on the Patriots, and then they leave to go play for other teams, and they're nowhere near what they used to be in New England. So again, that could be with Bill Belichick's scheme, or it could just be with how good of a quarterback Tom Brady is.
Yeah. All right. So first quarter is over. Do you want to call it a day?
Yeah, I guess we'll call it. We don't have too many people in here, so well,
Right.
we want to thank everyone who did tune in. Thanks to Blair for commenting, saying hi to Pete. We appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to be doing an episode tomorrow. We kind of discussed the breakdown of the Bears and Lions and stuff today. I'm not sure if you want to or not. We'll discuss that later, but yeah, so hopefully if not tomorrow, then we'll be back on Sunday with a recap of the first Lions game of the season. It's going to be exciting, so
Yeah, go Lions. Again, leave any comments, feedback, any disagreements. More than happy to hear anything and converse with anybody out there. I'm stuck out here on the West Coast, so not exactly a whole lot of Lions fans out here. So
yeah, it sucks. I'm sure you don't have too many people to talk to. That's why these conversations are as fun as they are, is because you don't get to talk about Lions with anyone out there. But yeah, so again, anyone, feel free. We love interacting with fans and everything. So
yeah, so my Twitter is Jimmy Liao MD. So you can always reach me there.
Or if you can just tweet, you can get us at the show on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, where it's just pretty much Motown Sports Talk everywhere, except for on Twitter, it's Motown Sport Talk without the S, because Twitter limits their handles. So, all right, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you later.